So origins of Macari's, my granddad had a big touring show. When the cinema came along and all the theatres started to close, he had to do something else. He opened a little shop. His son, Larry, started working for Vox amplifiers, and he became the sales manager at Tom Jennings' shop in Charing Cross Road. So he sold the amps to the Beatles and the Stones and the Shadows. It must have been amazing. Being real family setup, he always wanted a shop with my dad. When a shop became available in Denmark Street in London, he went and opened it and started a partnership with my father. It was the first music shop in the street, which is now synonymous with music shops. They opened the first shop that you would recognise as a modern sort of good musical instrument shop. Tone Bender pedal was the first ever British fuzz pedal. Came out in 1965 as the Mark I, soon became the Mark II. We like to think it's one of the most important pedals ever made. It really did change how music was made. The design of a fuzz is a weird old thing because it's always existed. It's been there on the pages of science books for years. The trick was to take it, to put it in a box and sell it. In 1965, the shop was going pretty well in Denmark Street. They were selling their musical instruments, but they really needed a bit of a shot in the arm to make them really special. Gary Hurst came to see my dad and my uncle in Denmark Street. He'd been working for Vox and said, look, I've got this idea, the kids are going to love it. Tom Jennings at Vox, he's not interested because, it makes this filthy, disgusting sound. My uncle looked at it and said, yeah. They jumped at the chance of selling it. They started making the pedals in Denmark Street with Gary's design, and it just took off. The Stones had had a hit with Satisfaction. That was using an American fuzz pedal. The first big hit with Tone Bender Mark I on it was the Spencer Davis group, Keep On Running. And when that came out and that sound hit the airwaves, suddenly everyone wanted this fuzzy sound. You listen to the hit singles of 1965 and then 66, they all had this fuzz sound on it. It was a must-have item suddenly. So the Tone Bender took off. So it's 1965, the first Tone Bender's being made. My dad and my uncle need a company name, and they decided to call the company Sola Sound. Sola Sound was set up specifically to make pedals. That's the first time that had ever happened in England. It's a pedal company. That was pretty damn cool. The first pedals they sold were these Tone Bender fuzz pedals. Goes right back to day one of fuzz. The Mark I, which we know now as the sort of Mick Ronson pedal, the David Bowie sound, soon became the Mark II, which we think of as the Led Zeppelin 1 pedal. It's something we're hugely proud of. We take it as a compliment. There's loads of clones and copies of our pedals, but if it's an authentic Tone Bender, it's going to say Sola Sound on it. I was born in 63, so the pedal came out in 65. I don't remember it, but I've spoken to enough people to know that when they first heard fuzz, it was not just a guitar-changing thing, it was a life-changing thing. Suddenly, people were playing the guitar and this massive, dirty sound was coming out of it. People were making records that made people want to pick up chairs and throw them through windows. It was a rebellious, nasty tone. It must have been amazing. It was a culture-changing thing. One of the reasons our pedals are so big is because people used one pedal and you didn't want to kick them all over the stage. You wanted something, you wanted to be able to see it and go and stomp on it. What started happening in the 70s was people had chains of pedals. Big pedals started to look a bit silly. I remember the day going to my dad's shop. I was in my late teens and he'd put an order in with a company called Roland and these new products started arriving. I remember the day I first heard chorus on a Roland Jazz chorus amplifier and standing in front of it and just going, what is that? It was an amazing sound. It blew my mind. And these new little modular synthesizers had arrived and they were an incredible, it was like being in a spaceship. It was fantastic. But the next thing was a little bit shocking. they sent over these amazing, small, compact effects pedals. And they made the Colour Sound pedals look very old-fashioned. I mean, don't get me wrong, there was still a real love for them. People still bought Tone Benders, but the BOSS thing basically killed the big pedal. So it was probably 10 years ago when our pedals suddenly started getting incredibly popular again. And I remember sitting in the shop and I was looking at one of our pedals and I was looking at a BOSS pedal and I was just thinking, God, these things are so cool. Both of them are so cool, but in very different ways. One has this amazing history, the other one is groundbreaking innovation. And I just thought, well, how cool would it be to do some sort of collaboration? And a few years later, I get a visit from Yoshi, from BOSS. And we also almost, it's like a joke, we mentioned it as a joke, it'd be cool if our companies got together and did a pedal sometime. 2017, BOSS had their 40th anniversary event in London where they were showcasing all the compact pedals over the years. I'd actually sketched something out this time with an idea for like 3 different fuzz pedals. But I chatted to Yoshi and he said, no, if we're going to do this, we're going to concentrate on one great pedal. What should it be? And I said, well, you know, probably the most iconic pedal, the one that there's a 2-year waiting list for, is the Mark II. It's made very slowly, you know, there's only one guy we trust to make it. You know, this guy Dave Main builds this pedal for us. He said, yeah, it's going to be a challenge. To make a pedal really sing and really dance takes a very, very, very good engineer. They've got to understand music, they've got to understand electronics, and they've got to understand a bit of mojo as well. So we embarked on the journey to make the BOSS and Sola Sound collaboration. So the next step was to start on production. And obviously the thing that needed to happen is we needed to get a pedal out to Japan. So I remember spending a good 2 hours going through my stash of Mark II Tone Benders, settling on one that I felt just was the classic Mark II sound. And I remember vividly which one it was. It was number 500 that we'd made, because every now and again I keep one back, and I kept number 500. Yoshi came over again. He said, I think we might be able to do it. He wasn't sure he could do it, but we were getting there. March this year, 2020, I was on the phone to Steve and we were talking about projects because the shop was closed and what are we going to do? And he said, well, what's happening with the BOSS thing? And I said, you know what, I don't think it's going to happen. And he said, oh, it's a pity. I was right, can't be done. And then suddenly in the post, this arrives. It's a BOSS compact pedal with level and attack written on it. And it looks kind of cool. Then I plugged it in. So I suppose it was at this point I realised it was going to happen, we could do it. I listened to the way the pedal reacted to the changes in gain, to how I could use it with the volume on my guitar, which is absolutely critical with a Mark II. After a few more listens and a few more phone calls, I realised it actually really was like a Sola Sound project. The reason it sounded so good is the guys had got hold of this very limited quantity of great transistors to make this pedal, which made it feel even more like a Sola Sound product, because, you know, we always work with very limited runs of units, with very limited runs of transistors. And this is the first time I have ever felt like putting our name on a pedal that isn't made by us. And teaming up with BOSS, it just feels like such a cool idea. This is kind of the end of a full circle of events, from the fuzz being made to Colour Sound almost dying out, then resurging, and then BOSS coming into the picture, and then us collaborating. It's an amazing feeling, really, and it's something I'm so pleased to be part of. This is the first time me and Steve have ever felt we should put our name on a product that isn't made here in the UK. So here it is, the BOSS TB-2W Tone Bender, licensed by Sola Sound London. At last. You gotta love that.